Per Dad's request, brought our housekeeper along.
What? I was momentarily taken aback. Robert, in front of his father-in-law Daniel, arrogantly referred to me as the housekeeper. And his father-in-law Daniel looks at me. He suddenly burst out laughing. What's the matter? I ask, and Daniel, trying to contain his laughter, says,
Well, it's just hearing you were Robert's fiance. I imagine someone, well, this is a face of poverty. Would love to see your parents' faces.
Feeling humiliated, I teared up and ran away from there. Luckily, there was a guest bathroom in the party room. I hid there and called my dad. After I explained the situation, Dad came right away.
Hello, the housekeeper's dad here. Oh, you are.
Upon realizing who my dad was, Daniel and Robert began to panic. And they would soon face retribution from Dad and another helper who showed up later. My name is Sarah, and I work as a salesperson in a department store. At 40, I'm still single, but currently I'm dating someone. His name is Robert, 5 years my junior at 35. Dating the son of the owner of a music store that has a shop in the department store where I work does attract attention. That's why I kept my relationship with Robert a secret at work to avoid awkward situations. Our communication is mainly through messages. I always look forward to checking my mobile phone for messages from Robert during breaks. Today, I checked my phone.
Let's go on a date on the weekend.
And saw an invitation. Being in a fresh relationship, our time together was always exciting. Robert's house has a $1 million piano, as expected from someone who runs a music store. Robert has been learning piano since he was a child.
I want you to see our piano at home. Then I'll play something for you.
That sounds wonderful. I'd love to hear you play. Robert is a really well-mannered, calm person. I enjoyed my time with him. Considering our ages, of course, marriage is on the horizon. That's when I received a date invitation from Robert. But I had to decline because my mom was visiting that day. Sorry, I have to be home because my mom is coming over. Then, 10 minutes later, Robert replied,
Your mom is coming? I'd love to meet her if possible.
After some thought, considering we were in a serious relationship, I decided it wasn't a bad idea to introduce him to my parents. I quickly agreed. That sounds good. I was thinking of introducing you to my parents eventually. I'll come pick you up in the morning.
Really? That's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Robert was happy about the prospect of meeting my mom. However, introducing Robert to Mom began to cast a shadow over our relationship. On the day Robert was to meet Mom, I went to pick him up in the morning. Today, since Mom came by car, there wasn't space for Robert to park if he came by car as well. Plus, I thought it would be nice to have a drink together if the conversation went well. So Robert came by bus today. Getting off the bus, Robert was dressed in a brand new suit. Perhaps freshly bought, appearing slightly nervous. I cheerfully greeted him to ease his nerves. Good morning, Robert. What's with the nerves?
Good morning. I guess I'm just nervous about meeting your parents,
Robert said with a tense voice, his face stiff. Don't worry. My mom is very friendly. As I said that, Robert gradually relaxed. Entering our condominium, Mom greeted Robert with a smile. As soon as Robert caught Mom's eye, he hastily greeted her.
Hello, I'm dating Sarah. My name is Robert Miller.
Miller. The moment Robert introduced himself, the smile vanished from my mom's face. Indeed, I hadn't yet mentioned Robert's last name to Mom. But why did Mom react so strangely to Robert's last name? Mom? What's wrong? Oh, nothing, dear. Nice to meet you, Robert. I'm Sarah's mom. She always speaks so highly of you. Mom greeted him with a straight face, her words sounding superficial. Even after we moved into the living room, there was a palpable tension in the air. With her back turned, Mom asked Robert, What do you do, Robert?
I help out at my dad's company. We own 5 music stores in the area, including the one in Sarah's department store.
Robert answered confidently, seeming to return to his usual self. However, Mom didn't seem very interested in Robert's story. Trying to smooth things over, I asked Mom, "Mom, don't you think Robert's company has something to do with us?"
Yes, I suppose,"
Mom responded, still indifferent. Unaware of Mom's demeanor, Robert seemed tense.
"A connection?"
"I haven't mentioned this yet, but Mom is a violinist who graduated from a conservatory and now runs a violin school at home."
"Really? Then there definitely seems to be a connection."
Robert's eyes lit up as he said this. I was about to mention Dad too, but stopped as I sensed Mom's mood darkening. What bothered me was Mom's skeptical looks at Robert. Even though Robert was nervous, he began to notice Mom's dubious expressions. Just as I was about to break the ice, Mom turned to Robert and said, "I'm sorry, but could you please leave for today?" But he just got here." I was surprised at Mom's request, and Robert seemed uncomfortable. As he slowly stood up, Robert replied,
"Understood. I'm sorry for intruding on your mother-daughter time."
Though he said so, Robert's face showed displeasure. I intended to walk him to the bus stop, but was stopped at the door.
"It's okay. I'll go back alone."
"Robert, I'm really sorry." Even as I apologized, Robert left without turning back. What exactly did Mom dislike about him? Curious, I immediately returned to the living room. "Mom, what's the matter? What didn't you like about Robert?" I pressed Mom for answers as she was cleaning up in the kitchen. Mom turned around with a serious look and said,
"I think Robert is a good person."
"Then why?" As I was about to ask more, Mom looked at me earnestly and whispered,
"It's hard for me to say this, but I can't support this marriage."
"Why? Because I'm 5 years older?"
"No, that's not it."
Mom calmed me down with her response.
"Can you listen to what I'm about to say until the end? It might be hard for you, Sarah."
Sitting on the living room sofa, I listened as Mom explained why she couldn't support my marriage to Robert. It was more serious than I had anticipated, leaving me with mixed feelings. I understood why Mom couldn't support it, but my desire to marry Robert remained unshaken. "I understand how you feel, Mom, but I don't dislike Robert himself. It's not his fault. I want to see for myself." That meant I was also willing to meet Robert's parents. Mom looked worried but said,
"I'm worried, but if you're that determined, I can't stop you. I believe in you, so do your best."
"Thank you, Mom." And then I pleaded with Robert to meet his parents as well. Robert, seeming to have had the same intention, wore a happy smile.
"Really? Wow. After meeting your mom, I thought she didn't like me,"
Robert said, then pulled something from his pocket. It was an engagement ring.
"Before anything else, let's get this conversation done with. Will you marry me?"
Blushing at the sudden proposal, I had been waiting for Robert's proposal, and without hesitation, "Yes," I replied. And finally, the day came to visit Robert's home. I was nervous today. Robert came to pick me up in the morning, looking happy.
"You don't have to be so nervous. My dad is very approachable."
Yeah? In fact, Robert's family was just him and his dad, as his mom was not around. A single father and son household. Entering a household of men, I was somewhat prepared to become a female contributor, taking care of their domestic needs. When we arrived at Robert's house, I was taken aback. It was my first time visiting Robert's house, and it was much larger than I had imagined. I knew Daniel was the president of a company, but I had not expected him to be this wealthy. There was a large mansion-like gate in front of the house, like something out of a movie. Inside, we were shown the $1 million piano and a spacious party room. It's amazing to have space like this in your house. It's like you could host a dinner show.
Right? We often invite our valued customers here for parties. Actually, we're planning to host a party tomorrow with a famous pianist.
A famous pianist? I remembered something when Robert mentioned that. And just as Robert was about to answer my question, a man in his early 60s, with the air of wealth about him, appeared before me.
Ah, thank you for coming. I'm Robert's dad.
Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah, I said, greeting Daniel deeply. Then Robert, with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen before, said,
Sarah, you don't have to be so nervous.
He seemed to be trying to ease my tension, but it felt oddly out of place. As soon as Robert looked at Daniel, he blurted out something outrageous.
Just as you wished. I brought our housekeeper.
What? I couldn't believe it. Robert, who had always respected me for being older, was arrogantly calling me a housekeeper in front of Daniel.
Ah, that's really helpful. After all, our household has been all men for so long. Having a housekeeper would really be a relief.
Daniel joined in, looking intently at my face. Then suddenly, he burst out laughing. What's the matter? I asked, and Daniel, trying to contain his laughter, said,
Well, it's just. Hearing you were Robert's fiance, I wondered what kind of woman you'd be. This is a poverty-stricken face. I'd love to see your parents' faces.
I thought this joke was going too far. I looked at Robert for help, but Robert was smirking too.
Well, Dad, a woman isn't all about her face. Plus, if she's a housekeeper, it's better to have someone who's a bit older than me who can work hard. Oh, by the way, wasn't Sarah's mom beautiful? Maybe she takes after her dad.
What's that supposed to mean? Are you making fun of my face too, Robert? I was shocked by the unexpected turn of events. The kind Robert I knew, it was hard to believe he could change so much at home. As I glared at Robert, offended, Daniel asked me,
Oh, your mom is beautiful, is she? I'm looking forward to meeting her. By the way, what does your dad do for a living? Come to think of it, I haven't asked yet.
Daniel and Robert looked down on me with disdain. I didn't want to talk about my dad to such people. My dad is, well, he's always flying around for work, very busy. As I declared this, Robert smirked and retorted,
Really? So your mom teaches some instrument and your dad travels around for work? Sounds like a busy, poor family. So, a dual income couple? So busy they hardly have time off together. Must be pretty poor.
Finally, this father and son duo had started looking down, not just on me, but on my entire family. I ran away from there, tears welling up in my eyes. Luckily, there was a women's restroom in the party room. I hid there and called my dad. Knowing he was nearby due to his work. Dad?
Hey, Sarah, what's up? Calling in the middle of the day?
Dad answered the phone cheerfully. His voice bright despite his busy schedule flying around the world for work. Hearing Dad's voice after so long, I couldn't stop my tears. Dad, Hearing my tearful voice, Dad spoke kindly.
It sounds like something tough happened. Take your time and tell me about it.
I was so grateful for Dad's kindness. I told him everything that had just happened. I don't care what they say about me, but to speak so terribly about my family, I was so upset. After I finished, Dad said in a serious tone,
I see. Stay right there. I'm on my way to you.
What about your work?
My daughter's trouble is more important. Work can always be paused. Don't worry.
Knowing Dad was coming made me feel relieved. Thank you, Dad. You know how to get to the Millers, right?
Of course.
Dad said, and then hung up. I wiped away my tears and returned to where Robert and Daniel were chatting casually.
Look who's back, Sarah. Thought you'd left.
Too bad. Since Robert's dad wanted to see my parents so badly, I've called my dad over, as you wished. At my words, Daniel sneered.
Calling him over in broad daylight. He must really be free. A dull dad like Sarah, huh? This will be interesting.
Daniel and Robert mocked, as if laughing at me. But I was no longer afraid of their taunts. Seeing Dad would surely shock Daniel. About 10 minutes later, Dad arrived. The doorbell rang, and Robert went to answer the door. After greeting Dad, Robert came back looking stunned.
That guy is Sarah's dad. He's super rich.
I looked towards the entrance where Dad was. Indeed, he was dressed in a fancy formal suit, probably for a rehearsal tomorrow. However, Daniel, disbelieving Robert's words, retorted,
What are you surprised about, Robert? A dad coming to his daughter's fiance's house will try to look good. He must have borrowed that suit from somewhere. What are you talking about, Dad? He came in a luxury car that's hard to get. No one just lends those.
Daniel grimaced and looked skeptical at Robert's words. Then Dad appeared and greeted Daniel.
Hello, the housekeeper's dad here.
Seeing Dad, Daniel dropped his wine glass to the floor in shock.
You are.
Daniel stared at Dad, astonished. Dad looked around the house.
Oh my. Such a large house, and not a single servant. So you wanted Sarah, Robert's fiance, to be your housekeeper? No, that's not. Absolutely not.
Daniel denied it hastily, waving his hands. Dad, observing Daniel's panicked reaction, said,
Oh, was the story I heard from Sarah over the phone a misunderstanding? Something about Sarah having a poor face resembling me, her dad? No, that's well.
Daniel was sweating, struggling to respond. Robert, sensing the seriousness, asked Daniel apprehensively,
Dad, who exactly is this person? What's going on? Hey, watch your tone. This gentleman is Thomas, a famous first-class pianist, who will perform at our important party for valued customers tomorrow.
At Daniel's words, Robert, too, was surprised.
Really? Hey, Sarah, why didn't you tell me?
I was just as surprised when Robert mentioned a famous pianist coming here. I knew Dad was going to perform at a party tomorrow, but I had no idea it was at this house. Robert shook his head vigorously in response to my answer.
That's not it. I'm asking why you kept it a secret that your dad is Thomas.
Well, Robert, you always talk about yourself. I never got the chance to mention my own story. Thinking about it, Robert always did seem to boast about himself. Whenever I tried to share something, he would quickly turn the conversation back to himself. Besides, after the way you insulted me earlier, I was even less inclined to talk about my dad.
All you do is blame others for your problems.
Robert was angry, putting the blame on others. Daniel, too, snapped at me.
Sarah, even if you are a famous pianist's daughter, isn't it common sense to mention your parents' professions before visiting your fiancé's home?
Thinking about it, he might have a point. I was at a loss for words. Then, as if to rescue me, Dad intervened.
Well, that may be true, but then, Mr. Miller, are you saying you intended to treat her as a housekeeper, as you mentioned earlier, if she wasn't my daughter?
Dad was not to be outdone. Daniel was left speechless by the question. Seeing Daniel's confused expression, Dad said with a laugh,
Well, no matter the intention, it's clear that after marriage, the household chores would inevitably fall on her. And what do you mean by that?
Dad looked around at the house and said,
Rumor has it that no housekeeper stays here long. They leave because the master is difficult to please, and the son tries to woo the young housekeepers.
Indeed, the mansion was large, but not a single servant or housekeeper was in sight. The party room had been cleaned, probably in preparation for tomorrow, but the rest of the house was noticeably dirty. I looked at Robert, trying to confirm his feelings once more. Robert, did you really decide to marry me with the intention of making me a housekeeper? I truly loved you. Robert just looked down, silent, then muttered after a while.
I had no choice.
No choice? So any housekeeper would have done? Not just me? Robert wouldn't meet my eyes. Seeing this, Dad spoke sternly.
So, you didn't truly love Sarah. In that case, we'll consider this engagement dissolved. Wait, please.
Robert was taken aback, but Dad seemed firm in his decision.
There's no need to wait. Furthermore, Mr. Miller, given the circumstances, I'll also withdraw from tomorrow's performance. But that's a separate matter. What am I supposed to tell our important guests if Thomas doesn't perform?
Daniel started to panic.
That's not my concern. If piano is needed, let your son play. I hear he's quite skilled. My Robert's piano playing is not something I can present to our distinguished guests. Please, I understand you're upset about Robert, but...
Daniel apologized deeply, sitting down. As Daniel pleaded, Robert shouted,
Dad, stop making me out to be the villain. After all, it's Dad's fault for overworking Mom and driving her away. And then, for giving the housekeepers impossible tasks and driving them away too. Robert, be quiet. If tomorrow's guests abandon us, our company is finished.
As the father and son argued, a loud bang came from the back. Robert is right, Daniel. You're the worst for making your wife Linda suffer. Emerging from the shadows was none other than Mom.
Oh, you were here.
I rushed over after you called. It was easy to sneak in without a gatekeeper. So Dad had immediately contacted Mom after my call. Their teamwork was impressive. Mom glared at Daniel, who looked startled by her gaze.
Ah, you are.
If you remember, good Daniel, you overworked my best friend Linda to the brink, then tried to discard her. I knew from Mom that Linda, who had been mistreated and driven away by Daniel, was her college friend. That's why Mom opposed my marriage to Robert. Mom glared at Daniel fiercely. After Daniel drove her away, Linda came to me. She joined the same orchestra and continued playing the violin. She was the top of her class in college. Now she works as an instructor at my violin school.
Linda is doing that?
Daniel hasn't changed a bit. He treated Linda like a servant because she looked plain, never recognizing her true worth. Struggling for an excuse, Daniel said,
I knew Linda was a conservatory graduate, but once we were married, I expected her to follow our ways.
I was astounded by Daniel's pathetic excuse. Their way had left the house without a single domestic helper. No wonder any wife would want to leave such a household, especially when the head of a music store wasted a talented violinist's potential. Really, what does the Miller family think a wife is? Let me tell you. Sarah might not have pursued music, but she chose her path independently, always exploring her potential without needing to follow in our footsteps. Mom's plea was met with Dad's approving nod. I was touched to see my parents understood me. I felt lonely with both parents touring for music. As a student, I declared, I don't want to be like them. But that was just my rebellion. Yet they always believed in and watched over me. Realizing their feelings anew, I couldn't stop crying. Daniel had no comeback for Mom's words. Listening beside, Robert knelt and started crying.
I can't take this anymore. I don't need to get married. Just let me go home. It's all Dad's fault, not mine, right?
Robert wanted to end the conversation quickly. However, Daniel, not ready to give up, said to Robert,
Robert, what are you saying now? If Robert and Sarah's marriage falls through, tomorrow's reception is ruined. Instead of that, why don't you ask Thomas to play the piano tomorrow?
Still prioritizing his company, Dad looked at Daniel disapprovingly.
Mr. Miller, even now, you're only thinking of your own interests. I was willing to perform tomorrow if I saw any remorse from you, but now I firmly refuse. No.
Daniel seemed utterly deflated, having shot himself in the foot. Then Mom added insult to injury by confronting Daniel. Daniel, you haven't even paid the alimony from your divorce with Linda, have you? Linda has been struggling for 30 years since your divorce. So you will be paying her the alimony you owe her for the divorce trial. Faced with Mom's demand, Daniel turned pale.
That's what tomorrow's event ruined. Our company is finished, and now to pay alimony for the divorce trial on top of that is too much.
Oh, that's not all. Mom said this and turned to Robert with a sly smile. Hey, you ineffectual son.
Me?
Robert, looking foolish, glanced around. Who else? Although not officially engaged, Robert, you've deeply hurt Sarah's heart. You must pay her damages for breach of promise to marry.
No. The house's finances are all managed by Dad, so please ask him.
Robert really was, just as Mom described, an ineffectual son. But Daniel was shaking his head, refusing to take responsibility.
Robert, that's your problem. Sort out your own damages for breach of promise to marry. That's impossible. It's all your fault for putting me through this mess.
The pathetic argument between father and son continued. The spectacle was so ridiculous that my parents and I couldn't help but laugh loudly. It was a relief to have seen the true colors of this family before marrying into it. I was filled with gratitude towards my parents for their help. The next day, the Miller family hosted their party for valued customers as planned. However, with Dad's piano performance canceled, the guests, understandably upset, left early. Without its key supporters, Miller's music management began to falter. Apparently, Daniel's reputation had been bad for a while, and the company was barely getting by with support from valued customers. Losing its main pillar, bankruptcy was just a matter of time. Working at a department store that housed one of their shops, I unavoidably heard about it. Soon after, Miller Music went bankrupt. But the story didn't end there. Unhappy with our claims for compensation, Robert and his father refused to pay. Thus, my parents and I sued Daniel. At the trial, Daniel also announced that he would sue Dad. In response, Daniel also threatened to sue Dad for canceling the job on personal grounds, but Dad gracefully accepted the lawsuit.
I apologize for canceling the job due to personal reasons. I'll pay the compensation. So, Mr. Miller, please also proceed with your payment.
I see. So that's what it was. This move seemed to corner Daniel, making it hard for him to refuse our claims. Eventually, Daniel begrudgingly paid Linda the divorce compensation, and I received damages for breach of promise to marry from Robert. Following their bankruptcy, Robert and Daniel had to sell their house and the $1 million piano. The two disappeared from public view, losing everything. Later, there were sightings of Robert working as a cleaner at hotel party venues at night. However, it is said that both of them were working as cleaners during the night when no one was around. This experience made me resolve to reconsider my life. I had often rejected the idea. It's good that your parents are great people. Proud of my independence, I wanted to distance myself from their shadow. However, I now realize the true value of having wonderful parents. I decided to attend Dad's concerts, something I had never done before. Today was Dad's birthday concert. Mom and I were there to enjoy Dad's performance. Hearing Dad's piano live for the first time in years warmed my heart. I felt incredibly lucky to have such a wonderful dad. Mom, too, seemed to enjoy the music. A moment of peaceful contentment. I was thankful to be born to these parents, and vowed to do my best to show my gratitude from now on. Listening to Dad's music, I made that promise to myself.